Here's our sunflower design that we'll be painting today on an 8x10 canvas. The colors we're using are white, cad yellow, antique gold, dark Hauser green, light Hauser green, cinnamon stick, milk chocolate, gold sheen, and black. These are some of the brushes I'll be using. I have a couple flats and a couple different sized rounds. These are the colors I just went over shown on my palette. Okay, let's begin. I have one of my medium round brushes, and I'm going to begin by using the dark Hauser green, and I'm going to start painting the green between each of the petals. You will often see me move my canvas around a lot when I'm painting, and this is because it keeps me from developing a neck ache or pain in my shoulder. Let's go ahead and speed it up. Let's go ahead and rinse that green paint out and dry it off on our paper towel, and we'll move on to the next step. I'm going to mix together a darker brown by taking some of the cinnamon stick and mixing in some black. And this is going to give me that nice deep chocolatey brown that I'm looking for. So I'm going to take that dark brown and I'm going to start filling in the smallest partial circle in the middle of that sunflower. We're just dabbing it on and we're not being super neat about it. Just get it filled in. Now I'm going to mix together a lighter colored brown. I'm just going to take a little bit of white paint and I'm going to mix it in with that dark chocolate brown that I just mixed together. And I'm going to add this just above the area that I just painted. Again, just dab it on. You don't have to be precise. Just fill that area in with the lighter colored brown. Okay, let's give that brush a good rinse and we're going to get ready and move on to the petals of the flower. I'm going to move on to a different brush here in just a moment. And I'm going to show you here how we're going to layer our colors in order to get some dimension. So here is another round brush. It's just a little bit bigger than the one I just rinsed out. And I'm going to start out with my antique gold. This is just a deeper color. And I'm going to place that over the entire petal on each petal. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just speed it up. Time for another rinse of the brush. And I'm going to move back to that other round brush that I started out with in the beginning. It's just a little bit smaller. And I'm going to go, I realized at this point that I had missed some green originally. So I'm going to add my green in on this side of the petal, and then I am going to proceed to add another layer of this dark green in between each of the petals. But before I move on to each new section, I'm actually going to dip my brush into some lighter green, and I'm going to add some highlights. So here I just finished putting the second layer of green on, and I'm now getting ready I'm adding those highlights in with that lighter green. And I will continue doing this for each section. It's going to rinse our brush out, and now we're going to go back to our petals again, and we are going to go in with the brighter cadmium yellow over the top of that antique gold. The cadmium yellow has a bit of transparency to it, and I'm not terribly worried about that at this point because I really want some of that antique gold to show through. I don't know how much it's showing up right now on camera, but to the naked eye, as I'm painting it, I'm able to see streaks of that darker background coming through the lighter yellow. I'm going to just continue painting each of these leaves with the cad yellow, and we're going to speed it up now. Okay, it's starting to look like a sunflower. Let's go ahead and rinse our brush out, and we are going to go back into that dark chocolatey brown, and we're going to fill in that last section in the center of the sunflower that hasn't been painted yet. Remember, dab, dab, dab. I'm going to go back in and give a second coat to that smaller section real quick. I didn't care for that light colored brown that I had in there, so I decided to dip into my milk chocolate colored brown and redo this section right here. Okay, we're going to give our brush another rinse, and we are going to go back to our flower petals again, and we're going to add another layer of the cad yellow. You can see how this next layer really starts to brighten the petals up even more. It's still going to show a little bit of that dark underneath, but we're going to see a much brighter petal. Here you're going to see me start to drag in some of that dark brown from the center of the sunflower. I'm just ever so slightly dragging it up into my petal to give it a little bit of a shadow. And you want to make sure that when you do that, you rinse your brush before you go back in and start with that cadmium yellow again. Okay, so we got that done. Now I'm not rinsing my brush yet. I'm going to mix my cadmium yellow and a little bit of that cinnamon stick brown color, and it's going to give me a little orangey, yellowy brown sort of shade. And you're going to see me in a moment. I'm going to start adding it to the edges of my petals, as well as I will put a few brush strokes in the center of the petals as well. It's all about adding dimension, and you do that by adding highlights and shadows. Okay, so do you see here those darker marks that I just made, and how it adds to the entire look of it? It's more appealing to the eye, gives it a little bit more of a realistic, even though I am not totally about being a realistic type painter, um, you still want all of that dimension. So now you see me, what I did here is I took my cad yellow and I added a little bit of white to it just to give me bit of a brighter, or I should say a more pale yellow. And I'm just randomly putting strokes of that on the petals as well. Okay, going to rinse my brush out, and I am going to move back into just the cad yellow again. And I'm going to do the same thing that I have been doing. I'm just going to go back in and add random strokes. If you don't like how wide some of your shadowing is on the edge of your petals, you can take that cad yellow and you can just kind of paint along it and dial it back a little bit. So just have fun. Now it's time to make it pop. I'm taking pure white on my brush, and again, I'm just going to go in and add random strokes to my petals. This pure white really it's like the icing on the cake. It just totally makes the petals and the entire flower come to life. Just look at it. Isn't it so pretty? Okay, we're going to rinse our brush, and now we're going to move on to the center part of the flower, and we're going to add all those little dots. And we're going to do that by using the opposite end of our paintbrush. So you just take the other end of the paintbrush and you dip it down into one of your colors. I believe I started with antique gold here. And each time you dip into the paint, you can get 2 or 3, maybe 4 dots out of it before you have to go and reload again. And you just continue doing this. Don't overthink it. Just randomly put some dots in there. And I'm going to speed it up here, but after I get done with antique gold, I move on to one of my other browns, and then I throw some yellow in there and even some white. And then I like to end it with the shiny gold. Okay, I'm going to shift over to my smaller round brush, and I'm going to begin adding the sheen gold paint. I'm going to just do some random strokes on the petals because I love, love, love me some shiny gold in my paintings, especially my sunflowers. So I mixed up some of my dark Hauser green with a little bit of black to make it just a little bit darker. And I'm going to go around the outside of each of my petals and add that darker shade. It's going to just give it a bit of a shadow look, again, adding dimension. Going to give my brush a good rinse, and I decided I wanted to add a little bit more of the lighter green highlights in what is supposed to be the leaves in the background. So I'm just going to do that here, and we're just about done. And there you have it, a beautiful sunflower in about 45 minutes is what it took me. Just look at the sheen of those strokes of gold and how the white just makes it pop. I really love how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.